Kayla, I'm Aviana Lemaire, and I'm talking about being childless after 40 and whether or not I have regrets about this in my life. And spoiler alert, I'm going to give it to you up front. I have zero regrets about having no children. This is one of the few things in my life that has actually worked out the way I want it to. I've kind of spent my entire life in this generation where my experience of the generation I was born into is that if you are female, you are supposed to want children. Pretty much end of story. It was very much that mindset when I was growing up that if you don't want children, oh, it's just because you're nervous, or, oh, honey, you'd be a wonderful mother. All kinds of cliches where someone has already been programmed to think in a certain way, or they've just never thought outside of it. A lot of mindless things, or a lot of really inappropriate things. Like, you know, you live that life where you're just living your life as a whole human being, and you end up meeting people and being introduced to people, which does vary by generation. I find that the older generations do this a heck of a lot more. Can't tell you how many times I've met someone and with absolutely no reason whatsoever except that it's going on in their own mind, the conversation when it comes to me is always about whether or not I have children, and don't I want to have children, and oh, you don't have, like, it's that thing, stair step. Oh, in a relationship? Oh, don't you want children? And it's very weird for me because I'm sitting there as a whole entire human being where every single time I never bring children up in any way, shape, or form, these people manage to bring it up for me. And I know for some people that's not a big deal. In my experience, it kind of varies. It's the kind of thing where I just wonder, why does it always come up into conversation? I don't know if maybe it's a generational thing. I actually don't think there's really any generation, especially going younger these days, of human females who wants to constantly have their life summed up in whether or not they've procreated. And I think that goes for people where if you ask them, but don't you want children? The answer is yes, or something like of course, or whether they've already had children. I think the majority of people still want to exist unto themselves. I even hear, I have paid it. This is what I do. I pay attention, educate myself. I'm interested in the whole human experience. And it has been one of the most common things in the world that once you have children, you're now just kind of thought of as that person's mom. People refer to you as, oh, you're fill in here with child's name's mom. And that's your new identity. That's how they know you. And sometimes it's not just like, can't remember your name for a moment. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, this is the whole way in which I know you, and that's the capacity in which I process you. And so I've kind of always run into this being brought up. And this is one of the reasons why I put it up front that I don't want children. I never did want children. There's never been a moment when I've actually desired to have a child in the whole of my life. That has never taken place. And I'm saying it because that generation I grew up in and the experiences that I had are based on women just not saying it. And there could be many reasons for that. I know choosing the route that just elicits peace or allows me to have my own peace, to create my own peace. So I do understand if someone confronts you with this concept of whether or not you're going to fall into the fold and procreate because you can, or if you're going to want to, or if you're just moving along because that's what people said life should be. Boom, you expect to have children. I get why a person who doesn't want to have the stress would just be like, I'm not even going to address it. I'm going to leave it quiet. I'm going to stand on the point, which is valid, that that's not the only thing about me, whether I have them or not. And so I don't need to answer that question. And it's sexist to kind of sum women up in that way and constantly be asking all the time and different things like that. I've seen that, and I've heard so many people go that route. And I've spent the whole of my life just wanting to hear women say I don't want them. You know, I didn't miss out on it because of my career. I don't have health issues. It's not because I knew I wasn't with the right person. It's because I did not want children, and at no time in my life did I try, or did I fail to try to prevent that happening. And so now I just want to be that person who says that, and kind of from that generation where it's touchy whether you even bring that up or not. So no, I've never wanted them. And there's a lot of weird stuff that's gone on in my life because I haven't wanted them. Fear has been used a lot. People call it bingoing. When you say, I don't want kids, and somebody tries to basically trap you. It's like they're playing a game, which is weird because even if they win in words in the moment, like, oh, your argument failed. This isn't some kind of debate class where you're about to flunk the class because you couldn't ace the debate. I'm not a person who debates. That's not one of my strengths. But whether or not I can win a debate on any subject in my life doesn't prevent me from knowing what I already know about it. And my lack of talent toward debating or toward just winning the argument no matter what it takes has nothing to do with my capacity for knowledge about that subject. It doesn't diminish my knowledge. It doesn't diminish the truth. It doesn't diminish who I am. It just means nothing in the world. So any argument, like, I've definitely had a lot of moments of fear in my life that I had to fix because, for instance, people will say, you have a plan. What about later in your life? They don't really say, do you have a plan? That's me thinking about that. I have the child-free mindset, so I'm thinking about plans in life and thinking outside of the box. But they're just like, oh, what about when you're later in life? And don't you want to have children? You need to have children so they can take care of you. You need to think about that. What if you regret it later on? So I definitely have had some moments of fear. But by the grace of God, I'm built in such a way that even when I have had moments where it did work and the attack did take my peace away for a minute, and it did make me uncomfortable, and it did make me question myself because I know I don't want kids, but they're like, oh, what if horrible things happen in the future? What if your regret is your horrible thing? Well, I've lived a life already where that was just something I had to work on. Maybe it was a part of my training in life. To have somebody say something like that and have it rock my confidence, it does not make me then want children. But for instance, with what if I regret it? I'm going to tell you right now, I've never regretted it because I have never wanted it. So not having it doesn't lead to regret. It leads to an incredible amount of fulfillment I can't begin to explain. It leads to comfort. It leads to peace. Having 0 children in my life has led me to have moments of relaxation, moments of health, moments of life. I'm going to go ahead and say it's on a strong enough keel in my life that it has actually probably helped me sustain a general reason to live in a world where it seems like sometimes things are just trying to take that away, and where you can experience a loss or some pain or some event in your life that is just so horrible it seems impossible to get through. At no time in my life have I had to deal with that loss and also get up and take care of a child on routine, or desperately need a nap or a moment to myself and not be able to take it because there's something that depends on me for potentially even its capacity to breathe. As you know, that is, keeping them alive is kind of a big concern. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of people with children constantly leaving them with me and around me without asking or caring if I want to be responsible for the entire well-being of an entire reasonably helpless human being. And that's another thing about it. Other people and their children, being around them, ooh, If you want a boon for me to be even happier that I don't have this in my life, that's the big magical one. I have noticed, just on the subject of trying to keep the little suckers safe, they just run around. There was one that I remember one time, people visited and they thought it'd be a good idea to just let their child crawl around in the kitchen. It's not a kitchen that's mine solo. It's not like my solo situation. So the way that I would have had things arranged wouldn't have been the way someone else has things arranged. If I were living in my own home, and if I were living alone, or if I were living in a situation where it's like I'm the one in control of arranging, I would have had things arranged in such a way that there wouldn't really have been anything dangerous for the child. And I happened to know at some point, I remembered, oh, there's actually kind of a lot of stuff in this kitchen that's really dangerous for a child to access in the bottom cabinets and all that stuff. And everyone else was just off having their own conversation. And it's like there's a big counter, and the way the area is set up, I was at a certain point, and for a very long time, the only person who could see this child. And the child's parents are just elsewhere having, living it up and having a ball and laughing. And I'm not even going to get into that as subject matter because I refuse to even touch it. But here I am while they're over there not paying attention. And I'm suddenly the only one in the entire house who's actually watching the child. And now I'm concerned because I'm just thinking about how many things are extremely dangerous, if not deadly, for an unmonitored crawling infant. Now literally the life of your child is a weight that's on me. I didn't ask for that. I didn't consent to it, but I was the only one who was doing it. And as much as I wanted to just walk away, no one else is watching this. I was going to say no one else is watching this thing. I'm not that person who's apologetic about it either. I was just thinking that's going to sound horrible. You know what? I have a personality, and that's what I was about to say. No one else is watching this thing. Now suddenly it's my burden. It's this little crawling bot that's just going to get into everything, except it's not going to have a metallic robot body to protect it. And I really hated that experience. And as an aside, and this is going to be totally gross, so if you don't like really disgusting things about babies or bodies functioning, then you're going to want to mute this for about the next 10 seconds while I explain it. Starting now. I've never in my life seen a child drool so much, and it got to the point where my slippers were wet and I had to clean them. This was one of the most disconcerting experiences for me, because now not only am I taking care of your child against my will, just because I kind of have the basic human decency to not want the child to get injured, but I also am being kind of, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not a person who's bulletproof to gross things. To have somebody kind of needing me to take care of them, and I don't want to be doing it, and I haven't signed on for it, and now everything is just a nightmare. It made this one of the most memorable, remarkable experiences I've ever had in my life. Actually, if you're grossed out, you're probably going to want to mute this for another 10 seconds now, because I just figured out the perfect way to explain it. Starting now. Anyone who's ever seen the Beethoven movies from the 90s where the dog is slinging its mouth around and spit is going everywhere, it was just like this. And there was no way for me to deal with it. And I was trying, but you can't keep up. So, just one of many memories. I've always thought it's kind of interesting about other people's children. They do seem to, this will be a quick aside, but they do seem to have this habit of just seeking out things that will end their lives. So when it comes down to me not wanting to have care, it's not like, oh, it's a minute, oh, it's quick, oh, it's fine, oh, I didn't ask, but you're female, so you must love this, right? Or, oh, or perhaps we're related, so I guess it's okay. Very weird. But one thing that really bothers me, that's not an approach I would take if I had offspring. I'm a very different style of person, though. And actually, there's a huge stack of specific reasons that I probably don't want to get into, but I'll put it this way. Some people will know that not everyone's family is safe. There's a long history of children not being safe amongst the people I've been related to and extended family. I'm not going to get into why, but yes, if you're thinking of the worst possible things you can imagine, it's that stuff. So that would be some, like, on the list of reasons why I wouldn't be leaving my kids with anyone. Not only have I heard of it, I know that that's like, if I'd had children, that's a generational curse I would have laid upon them, because that's going to come down and now they're going to have to fight it and deal with it too. And the instant you come out of the womb, it's going to be your problem to deal with, but you're not going to be even slightly capable of trying to take care of yourself in these matters for basically ever. That's another thing. In general about children, it's like they're going out of their way to attempt to injure themselves and to take up hobbies that could possibly end them. I don't want to be in the room when that's happening. I'm not interested in having that burden on me. I don't want it anywhere near me in any way, shape, or form. One of the reasons why I'm very happy that I've never procreated is because I'll never have the different burdens and stresses of spending my entire life in a constant state of concern or worry about another human being. And I'm not triggering that mama lion thing where it's my own, because your brain changes. I don't want to do that. I've never wanted to do that. It's not an experience that is desirable to me. And so when I think about that, that's one of the major reasons why I'm glad that I haven't had them.